right, let's get into Genesis 27 right now. And in accordance with Genesis 27, where we're talking about some savory food, I got my savory double Dutch chocolate milk from Wawa with me right now. So I just thought that'd be somewhat appropriate, I guess. So let me have a quick sip. I could bless Wawa for this. All right, blessings. Isaac giving out blessings to his son. He wants to give a blessing to Esau, we see here. He doesn't know. Isaac doesn't know that Jacob and Esau already had this deal going on where Jacob's going to get the birthright. Jacob already made a deal with his brother. He said, hey, give me your birthright. Remember a few chapters ago, we saw that? Well, doesn't matter. Jacob decides to take matters into his own hand, still, to try and get the blessing from his father, even though him and his brother already had made that deal and it was before the Lord. Jacob still didn't have any trust. He still had this greed, this deceitful intention in his heart to deceive his father, to deceive his brother. And yet still, despite all this sin, again, God still works through these imperfect people to accomplish his will. You can't read the Bible in a vacuum, because if you just read Genesis 27 by itself, you would think, what is this book? What is this book I'm reading? What is this Bible I'm reading? You can't read the Bible in a vacuum. You got to look at where things were, where things are going, and what's the overall outcome. And really, it's not just about Jacob. It's not just about Isaac. It's not just about Abraham. The Bible is not just about these imperfect people. They certainly are playing a role in God's plan. The Bible is about Jesus. The Bible is about Jesus. It's about Jesus coming to the cross to bear our sin so that these imperfect people and us, we're imperfect people, would be saved. So that's just something I like to keep in mind when I read this, because if I just read Genesis 27 and just preached on Genesis 27, what am I preaching on really? Am I preaching on deceitfulness to get what you want, using deception, and then now you have a brother who has turned his sword against you? Esau is now looking to kill Jacob. He's looking to kill Jacob, so Jacob has to flee. He has to flee. So there's consequences. There's consequences for his actions. He could have, for all we know, him and his mother, because it was really Rebekah who was the one who was scheming here, because she was favoriting her youngest son, Jacob. Really, I mean, you know, there was this distrust. There was this distrust in Jacob's heart, and that distrust led him to be manipulative. Like, just think about what they had to go through. He had to, like, dress like his brother, lie to his father, and pretend, all so he could receive a blessing. And then here's the even further part that I just want to point out. Isaac is truly, you know, kind of he's got tunnel vision. He goes, oh, well, I already gave it away. I already gave your blessing away. You know, it's kind of like, well, I only had one to give. It's like, I don't know, man. I got two daughters. I bless them both. I bless them both because God gives freely. God gives freely. So I just want to call that out here, that we're at a time period where man and God are still distant. They're still distant from one another. The Holy Spirit does not dwell inside of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, or Esau. It does not dwell inside of Rebekah. The Holy Spirit, he is still distant. He is still distant from them because reconciliation has not been made yet between man and God. We're living in that age. We're living in the church age right now, where I have the Holy Spirit living inside of me. If you're a believer and you've repented, you have the Holy Spirit living inside of you. So these people don't have that. They don't have that. All they have is their sin, and God's mercy. God's mercy. He is watching all this unfold. Just think of when your kids, if you have kids, just think of when your kids are young and you're watching them just make all these mistakes, all of these mistakes. You know, it's funny. I went to a basketball game for my nephew yesterday, and I'm just watching all these mistakes that they're making. He's 9 years old, so there's a bunch of 8, 9, 10-year-olds playing basketball, and they're traveling. They're traveling. If you're familiar with basketball, you're supposed to dribble the ball. These kids are like taking 5 steps here, dribbling, stopping, and then walking again. And you see the refs, they're just watching. They're just watching, and they're not blowing the whistle each time. Because if they kept blowing the whistle each time, if they kept blowing the whistle over and over again, the game would never finish. The game would never finish because the kids keep making mistakes over and over again. It's about learning. It's about learning. And right now at this period in human history, God has to put up with a lot of this. God is putting up with this. He's putting up with this sin. He's working through it to accomplish his purposes, to get us to where we need to go. So can't read the Bible in a vacuum. I don't just want to preach and talk about Genesis 27 right now, because if I did, we're really just talking about a manipulation story. That's what this is. This is manipulative. So, we'll stop there right now, because this is going to get warm, and I want my savory double Dutch just like Isaac wanted his savory food. Bottom line, it's wrong to use manipulation to get what you want. Especially if you are trusting the Lord for something. If you're trusting the Lord for something, if you've put your faith in God for something, if you've put your faith in God for salvation, don't try to earn it. Don't try to earn it. The good works that we do should come from our position of being saved, from the posture of having God's love and his Holy Spirit living inside of us. That's probably the most important thing I could say about all this. So you guys have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care.